important the art medium is creativity, and being creative isn't that easy, especially because you usually have to feel inspired to create. Inspiration and creativity walk side by side, but how do I get inspired and creative? In today's video, I'm gonna show you how I get creative. Hi, I'm Lucas, and welcome to Artist Dilemmas. Something very common is not knowing what to draw. What I usually do in this unfortunate situation is avoid drawing and look for something different. So I invited a friend of mine to go to the Asian town here to walk a bit and buy some new art supplies. My goal over there was to simply wind down, just enjoy the moment and the culture. I wasn't trying to think about something to draw or something like that. I was really just enjoying the moment. Even not being there to directly look for inspiration, I also wanted to go there to buy some art supplies. So I headed to an art store to buy what I was looking for. So for the art supplies, what I was looking for was a few pens and non-texture paper for inking. Since I like drawing some of my art traditionally and then scan it to paint it digitally, making this on a texture paper isn't the best idea. So I ended up getting an A4 paper since I already have A3 for this. Now for the pen, I got some inking pens. One of them being gray, and I already have a gray pen, but it's a light gray. And when I use it with markers, this light one kind of fades since it's still light, so I got a darker one. Now for the black ink pen, I only got one thinner variation because I already have a 0.5 and 0.2 and I was feeling the need of a thinner one for small details. Something I always buy when I go to the Asian town is a sketchbook. There is a store called Daiso that sells Japanese stuff for a very cheap price, and we can usually find sketchbooks over there for literally $2 or $3, and they're always high quality sketchbooks. This time I wasn't looking for a new one, but I ended up finding a sketchbook from the same brand we see Kiyomoto using in the manga Look Back, and the paper was really good in this one. So I had to buy it. Not gonna lie, the biggest reason that made me buy that was because it was from Look Back, but it'll have a purpose in the future, I promise you. Something I really wanted to do there as well was go to the gachapon spot. I've seen some gachapon there in another place before, but this time I discovered a new one that has an entire floor full of it. I got two over there, one of them being this nice figure, and then the other one from Kamen Rider. And I got the ring of my favorite Kamen Rider build, and I got so happy for this. It was a nice experience. After all that, it was time to head back home. And I took my time at a subway and bus to try to come up with some ideas, and unfortunately nothing came to my mind, which is something common, so I decided to keep looking for something else to do. I really like music, so I took a time to play my cello. I played the viola for almost 10 years, and last year I decided to actually learn the cello, which is an instrument I've been wanting to play for quite a while. When I get to play my instruments, it's usually a moment to relax, to clean my mind and have a good time. And then after that, all of a sudden, I had an idea. The idea I had here was making a character doing some art activity. Then I remember, Green Lantern Kyle Rayner is a character that's actually an artist. It was the perfect idea. Kyle Rayner is one of my favorite lanterns. The only reason I don't say he's my favorite is because I haven't read many stuff of him. Other than that, I like everything about him, like his costume and especially his mask. I find his mask really cool. So the main idea here is to have Kyle making some art related stuff. At first, when I had this idea, I had an unclear and abstract idea of it, but then I decided to add his trauma with fridges. So the scene that came to my mind was Kyle drawing something with an energy pencil coming out of his ring and being scared by a fridge in an old horror movie vibe. Yeah, if you don't know that, he's really scared of fridges. I decided to put together a mood board to have this vibe I mentioned more clear and also help me with guidance to the result I want to achieve. Now, with the mood board done, I started the actual drawing. Most of the scary idea will come with the shading and the colors. For the composition, I'm gonna make something simpler, and I want to make it as a comic cover, so I gotta keep in mind that this one will have space at the top for the Green Lantern logo. Now, breaking down my process here, I basically use this step to really refine the drawing, because making the sketch solid and refined will make my life easier later. This is why the part of drawings is one of the most important and complicated. After having the sketch, I move to the line art. Since I have a solid sketch, this step is probably the easiest one, but it also is the one I gotta be more careful. In digital, it doesn't require that much attention and pressure, but traditionally it does, since it's way harder to fix a mistake. I've changed my line art style many times, and today I kind of have two styles. One of these is more focused on the colors, so I make it having in mind the colors are gonna be the star of the show. The other one is more like a regular comic style, not so rendered like this one. Moving to the coloring now, I usually have two workflows that I follow. The art is the commission or something more complex. I usually make a color thumbnail so I can test the colors easily and try different color variations. But the one I use the most is just add the colors with no testing, since I usually get inspired by colors to create my illustrations. So most of the time, I have the color scheme in my mind since the very beginning of the drawing. In this drawing, I decided to mix a bit of the two styles I mentioned earlier. I decided to make this art not that rendered, but making some specific parts rendered, just like these pieces of Greg Smallwood. Something I learned with Smallwood was that contrast with everything, not only with colors and values. We can use rendering to create contrast, for example, like what we're doing here now. So we can basically create a lot of different kinds of contrast. In this art, I want to keep Kyle's face as a focal point, and the fridge as the element that drags audience's attention. These are going to be the most detailed part of our art. The rest of it is going to be simpler. Expressing yourself through your art is really important. What most of the people do is simply draw without thinking. And I'm not saying you can't do that. What I mean is, it's nice trying to come up with something new. Living in your comfort zone is really nice. There's a reason I really like Smallwood's work so much. He always comes up with something different in his art while keeping his personality and style. That's something I usually try to do as well. So in this video, I'm gonna make one Wolfer you can't refuse. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. From now on, give yourself more opportunities to create something new, to change a bit and leave your comfort zone. You can feel frustrated at first, it happens, but eventually you'll come up with something spectacular, and that feeling is amazing. By doing that, it'll help you being more creative, and it's gonna be easier to find more inspiration or get inspired. We finally got our art done. As I said, my goal was to create something inspired by an old horror movie poster, but still keeping this comic approach. Let me know what do you think about this art in the comments, and I don't know, tell me which lantern is your favorite. And by the way, have you seen the trailer? Kind of weird, right? Hope this show is good when it comes out. So, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.